This lesson is about area tiles and goes along with 6th grade CPM, Chapter 6, Section 2, Lesson 2. Looking at the screen, you see 4 different shapes, and each of these represents a different area tile. On the screen, you're seeing different colors. On the tiles that we have in class, there are only going to be 2 colors, and some of them can be the same, and that will represent positive and negative, which you'll get into in the future. Okay, I want us to start with this smaller pink square. And that's what we're going to call a unit tile. And the reason that's called a unit tile is because we're going to say on each side it is 1 unit wide. For our next tile, we're going to look at the blue one. And if we compare it, we can see that it's not quite even horizontally with the unit tile. However, it is the same height as a unit tile. And we don't know the length of that tile, but we do know the height. So we know that the height is 1 unit because that's the same. And we're going to call the length x because that is an unknown. So we're using that variable x. And so we're going to call this an x tile. We can also look at our green shape right here. And that doesn't line up with the unit tile, but it does line up with the x tile, and it's a square. So when we look at it, we can say that we have x along the top and x along the side. And that's going to be our x squared tile, because for the area of it, we have x times x, which is x squared. It's the same thing with the x tile, where we have x times 1, which is why it's the x tile, and then the unit tile is 1 times 1. And then there's this weird other one, which actually has 5 sections. And each section is a unit, and so really this just represents 5 unit tiles. And the reason they do that is because it's easier to group them into 5s. Just know that when you look at a tile like this, however many squares there are, as long as they're the same size as your unit tile, it represents that many units. So what are we going to use this for? For right now, they just want you to look at different groupings. So let's try an example together. So if you see a problem like this, it seems like a mess. You spilled the Legos out on the floor and something happened. Really what they want you to do right here is you're just counting. And I want to start with the larger tiles. And remember that the larger green tiles are x squared tiles. So I can say that I have 3 x squared tiles. But I also have some x tiles, and if I count those, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 x tiles. So I can say I'm adding 8 x tiles, and then I can count my unit tiles, which remember I need to include my 5 here. So I'm going to have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm adding 10 more unit tiles. So if I created an expression with that, I would have 3x squared plus 8x plus 10. What we're doing here is called combining like terms. Okay, in this case, the x squareds are like terms, the blue x tiles are like terms, and the units are like terms. And then later on, when you get your x value, you're able to plug that in and solve for it. Okay, so try the next problem on your own. Just like last time, count up how many tiles there are, write an expression like we did with the last time, and tell me what you see. When I solved this problem, I saw that there are 4 x squared tiles, there are 5 x tiles, and then I have my 5 unit tiles plus 6, 7, and 8 total. Okay, there are y tiles, but we're not going to worry about those in 6th grade as far as I can remember off the top of my head. You might get into them in the future, but just pay attention to the labels as you go. The book does label them in the middle, so you might see something like x squared as you go through it, and for the x tiles you might see x in the middle. So do look at the context of what's going on as you're solving problems.